Madeira, the pearl of the Atlantic, also known as the Flower Island. What comes first into your mind if you hear about an island that is always green, with blossoms of all colors and flowers of all varieties? Probably you won't think about something small, something that makes all this possible, and that makes something else, something sweet, something delicious. We are talking about bees. Welcome to today's video. I'm still living in the north of Madeira, in São Vicente. And if you remember, a few weeks ago we visited Poncha de São Vicente to learn about Madeira's national drink, poncha. And some people also use honey as an ingredient for poncha. In today's video we will learn about bees and about honey. And for this we are visiting Miguel, the owner from Flor del Norte. Miguel inherited a bee farm from his father, and his family business is one of the biggest honey producers in Madeira. That's your father that built the place. How many years ago?
20 years, but when we started about 25.
How many hives do you have in total?
Aqui no Vale de São Vicente, mais ou menos 300.
In the São Vicente Valley, approximately 300.
300 hives, only in the valley of São Vicente. Besides that, Mel Flor del Norte, which means honey flower of the north, has all around Madeira hives. As a reference, a hive can make per season 24 to 27 kilograms of honey. And to appreciate also all the work from the bees, in order to produce half a kilo of honey, a bee needs to fly more than 88,000 kilometers. That's more than 2 times around the world. Okay, but let's start easy. With this amount of honey, is it possible that everything is consumed only in Madeira?
Yeah, we produce mostly for Madeira and exportation as well.
Nice, nice. So with visiting this is also a sort of a childhood dream that comes true. I always wanted to understand how honey production works. So let's check it out.
Just for you not to. This flower we call maceruco.
Okay.
This is typical from Madeira.
Miguel explained me that bees love this flower. Well, it's a very beautiful flower, but I assume it is because of the taste. But can we humans actually taste the difference in honey depending which flowers are around the hive?
It depends on the flowers around the hive.
Yeah.
So, for example, if each city has different flowers, it's going to taste a bit different from each other.
Flor del Norte will show me today the production. How do they extract the honey? How do they recycle it? And actually, how do they collect it? And we will also make a tasting. And let me ask you, if you like this video, then pause right now, smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. That makes projects and videos like this possible. And also don't forget to check out the Instagram page from Flor del Norte and leave some love there. Thank you very much. Okay, before we continue to the production facilities, let's remember something that we all learned in school, but we might have forgotten it. What is honey and why are bees making it for us? Well, actually bees don't do it for us. But let's go back in time. Actually, let's go back 4,000 years, to the ancient Egypts. Hieroglyphics show already the story of the bee's life. So the ancient man discovered then already the delight of honey. And actually for centuries it was the only sweetener available. In the 4th century before Jesus Christ, even Aristotle wrote about the bees. And then 100 years later, Virgil the poet and Pliny the naturalist carried out the story further. And while the Saxons ruled in England, honey was accepted by landlords as part payment for rents from tenants. So the bee had truly earned a place in society. Okay, let's move a bit forward in time. To 1792, Huber from Geneva, a blind naturalist, published a book about bees and honey. And with this, the honey industry that we know today began to grow. But why and how are bees producing honey? Bees need 2 different kinds of food. One is honey, made from nectar, a sugary juice that the bee collects in the heart of the flower. And the other kind of food comes from the anthers for flowers, which contain numerous small grains called pollen. And by the way, as flowers have different colors, so do their pollen. But to understand how honey is made, let's join the honeybee flying from the hive to the flowers. As soon as a bee lands on a flower, you will be able to see the bee has a little, well, comparable to the overall size of the bee, a very big tongue. Every flower has nectar, a tiny pool inside of the flower. With its tongue, the honeybee sucks out the nectar. In some flowers like honeysuckle, you can actually really see the nectar. The bees are not really eating this nectar. Honeybees have a special honey stomach where they store it until they are back in the hive. And there, they transfer it from the bee's stomach to a stomach from another bee. And this bee has the job to actually make the honey. This is the honey making bee. Only if the bee is really hungry, it opens a valve in the nectar sac and a portion of the payload passes through to her own stomach, which is then converted to energy for her own needs. One interesting fun fact, the most advanced aircraft that exists can only take off with a load of 1/4 of its own weight. A bee, although, can carry almost her own weight in nectar or pollen. It is stunning that the bee can stay airborne with such an amount. Okay, going back. So the bee brings the nectar back to the hive as soon as her nectar sacs are full. And then mouth to mouth, the honey is transferred from bee to bee. This process is continued over and over. If you hear this the first time, it might sound a bit odd. But scientists figured out that bees doing this because they have a special enzyme in the stomach. That enzyme removes the moist from the nectar, which makes it thicker and stickier, and eventually turns into what we know as honey. By passing the nectar back and forward mouth to mouth between the bees, more and more of this enzyme is added. If the transformation is final, the bees store the honey in little containers that they build out of wax, which is what we know as the honeycomb. But let's speak later about the honeycomb. Why are the bees doing this? As I said in the beginning, they don't do it for us. They actually produce it to feed their children. The honey is consumed by newborn baby bees and by the larvae. Also, during the colder months, the conserved honey ensures that the hive survives the winter. Let's go back to Miguel and take a look at the honeycombs. This comb is already extracted. Usually the chambers are filled with honey, and as soon as a chamber is full, the bees close it with a wax.
But normally there's a cover, and then we take it off.
With this special fork, the cover is removed, so that the honey can drop in this tube. But then the golden delight is filtered for the first time.
How long does it take until it rinses? Because it's like very thick.
Oh, it's instantly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so I have some relation. How much honey is actually in one of these hives?
1 liter. 1
1
liter and a half, yeah.
Well, wow, I thought it was really nice. Amazing.
Maybe 2 if they're full.
Yeah.
Like proper full, maybe 2 liters.
Nothing gets wasted here. The honey is too valuable. That's why after the honey dropped out of the chambers, the crumb gets into the extractor.
In the extractor, and they start spinning around like really fast to take the rest of the honey out.
Ah, okay.
And the honey is going to drop and going down again.
Okay.
And then it's filtered again and goes into the cubes.
So nothing wasted.
Nothing wasted.
You're gonna see it after, okay? Nothing is wasted, okay?
And that's honey.
Oh, wow.
On the top has that little foam because that's impurest. Yeah, it's the rest of the wax,
Ah, okay.
and it goes up because the honey is heavy.
Yeah, and then it's gonna be filtered again.
And then it's going to be filtered again.
And how long does it stay there?
Until it's on the jars, basically.
Okay. That's a really nice honey smell.
Yeah, they're really.
So the honey got produced, it got extracted, and only the last part is missing. It needs to get filled into the jars. For this, we need to go to the next room of the facilities.
So the empty jars we put in here. It goes around, fill alone. It's automatic.
Nice.
And then when it's full, it comes in here.
You measure it in gram and not liter?
Yeah, it's grams because we can't put liters because 1 liter it's 1.5 kilos.
Ah, okay.
Bubble bath, call my name. Every morning up with the sun. Bubble bath, you know I love to.
I was curious how much can this machine bottle, or shall I say jar, per day? Miguel told me it depends on the order, but easily 600 jars per day.
And like, do you have like seasons where you get the honey, or is it like the whole year?
More in the summer.
Okay. But in theory also in winter, or are they?
Também se tira do inverno.
Yeah.
se ter, mas não é muito normal.
Yeah, we can take in the winter, but it's not very normal.
Okay.
So this is very different to how I know bees. Where I come from, the bees don't leave their hive for some months in the winter to survive the harsh conditions. But because of Madeira's optimal climate, there are always some flowers available and the temperature never gets too cold.
So now we're going to see how we recycle the wax and go back into the hives.
Okay.
The whole process again.
Perfect.
Okay, let's go. By the way, one thing that I immediately noticed is that the whole facility is as sterile and clean as a surgery room. Oh, and do you remember the wax covers that the bees produce to close the full honey chambers? And do you also remember what Miguel said? Everything gets recycled here.
This is the little covers that we take and put in there.
Ah, okay.
And this is the rest.
Oh, wow.
We're going to reuse this.
How many are this, more or less? Like one...
Many.
yeah, okay.
Like this one is to recycle.
Ah, okay, I see. Yeah. Amazing.
The olds and or black boards we recycle
I see.
to make new wax.
Nice.
You want to say the new wax?
Okay.
The bee wax is naturally produced by the worker bees. Those have 8 producing glands in the abdominal segment. Beeswax has a long history in the mankind. It was, for example, a replacement from plastic in the early days. And still today it is used in many cosmetic products, for example in lipstick. While I was researching for this video and from my conversation with Miguel, I learned a lot about the roles in the hive, about the wax and many other interesting facts, and about the behaviors from bees. But all of that would be too much for this video. Although, if you are really interested, maybe we can convince Miguel to make a second video with us, going deeper into the life in the hive and from the bees. Let me know in the comments. In order to provide enough energy, bees need to consume roughly 6 kg of honey to produce 1 kg of wax. Since this would be not profitable for the beekeeper, the extracted wax is recycled and reused. But let's see how the wax is recycled.
From here, we put it in the stove, a big stove, and they melt it.
Ah, okay.
And that's the wax.
Oh, wow. It feels like soap.
Okay, we have now these blocks out of wax, but can the bee reuse this and for what? With a machine out of the wax blocks, the warp templates are created, which look like this. They are inserted in the hive and
They pull it, the wax, and transform to this. And then they fill it with honey and cover again.
So this is gonna transform by the bees to this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
because of this blueprint out of recycled wax, the bees can use the wax instead of to produce it by themselves again. To mount the wax into the wooden frame, there's a special device that heats up the little metal strings and the wax melts, and then it will stay firm into the frame, ready for the bees to pick them up and to build the warps.
And it's secure.
Okay, I see. So now if you put it back in, nice.
Now we put on a hive, and they pull
start
the
working.
wax into that little holes and fill with honey.
Nice. This is so amazing.
It's everything recycled here.
Yeah, nothing's thrown away.
Deste lado.
So every hole on this side
do outro lado tem vários buracos à volta. Agora vamos ver assim.
on the other side has many holes around.
If you see the center of this hole, the other side is here in the center of this.
Ah, yeah.
And the beans made this.
This is amazing.
Maybe for
Yeah, okay. Alright, that was it. I learned a lot from Miguel about beekeeping and about honey production, and now hopefully you too with this video. If you did and if you liked it, give a thumbs up, and if you want to support me and my channel and make projects like this possible, please subscribe to my channel. There's something in Madeira that you see all around, and it's not poncha and it's not flowers. I'm talking about levadas. In next week's video we're gonna follow one of the biggest, if not the biggest levada of Madeira from the beginning to the end, or better, from the end to the beginning. Join me next week, Saturday 9 AM on this adventure. See you, have fun. Ciao, ciao.